Welcome back to Neural Intel. Today, we're going to talk about something that's on a lot of people's minds through the lens of one of the absolute giants in the field, Ilya Sutskever. He's floating a pretty radical idea. What if the era of just making models bigger and bigger to get better results is over? So the big question is, what's next?
Sutskever kicks things off with this paradox that, let's be honest, if you've worked with these models, you know exactly what he's talking about. On one hand, they post these mind-blowing, even superhuman scores on benchmarks. But then, in the real world, they can be just shockingly clumsy and unreliable. So how can something be so brilliant and so broken at the exact same time?
And this quote, this just nails the problem, doesn't it? He gives this perfect example of a coding assistant that gets trapped in a loop. You ask it to fix a new bug, and in the process, it just reintroduces a bug you thought you already solved. It's that kind of infuriating experience that shows just how wide the gap is between performance on a test and actual useful intelligence.
So this gets us to the heart of the matter, what you could call the scaling paradox. Let's really dig into this weird contradiction between the amazing things we see on paper and the, well, less than amazing results we sometimes get when we try to actually use these things.
Yeah, this really sums it up. Models are absolutely crushing these incredibly difficult evaluations, but their real-world economic impact, their practical use, it's lagging way, way behind what those scores would make you think. It's exactly like that kid in school who can memorize everything for the test but has zero real understanding of the subject.
So Sutskever has a couple of theories on why this is happening. First, maybe our reinforcement learning techniques are just too good at making models single-minded. They get so focused on one goal they can't see the bigger picture. And the second idea, and this one's fascinating, is that maybe we, the human researchers, are the ones to blame. We might be reward hacking by designing evaluations that are easy to game, training models to be good at the test, not good at the job.
And all of this, it really points to one single fundamental failure. He calls it the generalization gap.
You know, when you boil it all down, the problem is this. Models just do not take what they've learned and apply it to new situations the way people do. That's it. That's the whole game. It's the root cause of all this brittleness. They aren't building a deep, flexible model of the world. They're just building a really detailed but very fragile map of their training data.
I love this analogy he uses. Imagine two students. Student 1 grinds for 10,000 hours on one specific topic. They become an absolute master of memorization. Every problem, every technique, it's all rote. Then you have student 2. They only practice for 100 hours, but they also do incredibly well. Why? Because they just get it. They have that it factor, a real, flexible understanding. Our models today, they are student 1 all day long.
And right there, that is the billion-dollar question for the entire field of AI right now. What is that human it factor? How do we even begin to build systems that have that kind of deep, intuitive grasp instead of just being brute force pattern matchers?
Answering that question, Sutskever argues, is going to take nothing less than a completely new age of research.
I mean, what a line! He's basically declaring that the gravy train of just throwing more data and more compute at the problem for easy, predictable wins, that ride is ending. We've got these unbelievable computers now, but the way forward isn't just making them bigger. It's about finding brand new ideas, just like the old days of AI, but now we're armed with an insane amount of firepower.
You can really see it laid out on this timeline. From about 2012 to 2020, we had this explosion of research that gave us things like the transformer. Then, from 2020 on, we've been in the age of scaling, just cashing in on those breakthroughs. But now, we're swinging back. It's time to tackle those really hard foundational problems all over again.
Okay, so if we need new research, where do we even start? Well, one of the key areas Sutskever is pointing to is this idea of building a better value function. Now, this isn't some small tweak. This could be a core piece of the puzzle for making AI learn, more like that intuitive second student.
So, what the heck is a value function? The easiest way to think of it is like a gut feeling for an AI. It's an internal sense of whether things are going well or badly. Instead of waiting all the way to the end of a long process to get a final score, the value function lets the model check in with itself and ask, hey, am I on the right track? At a technical level, it's about predicting future rewards, which makes learning so much faster and more efficient.
And if you want a really powerful, real-world example of why this matters, check this out. It's from a famous medical case about a patient who, due to brain damage, lost his ability to process emotion. His logic was perfectly intact, but he became totally incapable of making decisions. It would take him hours to decide what socks to wear.
That emotional gut check, which is kind of like a biological value function, was gone. And that is exactly what our AIs are missing.
That human story really brings it home, which, of course, brings us to our neural signal check. Let's talk about why this actually matters at a technical level, especially if you're trying to build and deploy these systems in the real world.
For enterprise AI, solving this generalization problem would be a complete game changer. First, you need way less custom data for fine-tuning, which saves a fortune. You'd get models that are actually robust, ones that don't just fall over when they see something slightly new. Your learning would be way more sample efficient. And maybe the biggest prize of all, you could finally unlock true continual learning, where a model gets smarter on the job, just like a human, without needing constant, expensive retraining from scratch.
So this brings us to the final part of Sutskever's vision, and it's pretty profound. If we actually solve this generalization puzzle, what does a true AGI, a superintelligence, even look like?
He says we should basically throw out the old sci-fi idea of AGI, the all-knowing computer that's already finished. His vision is way more dynamic. He calls it a continual learner. The goal isn't a system that knows everything. It's a system that can learn anything, with all the flexibility and curiosity of a person.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? The goal isn't to build an oracle. It's to build a super intelligent 15-year-old, a system with this incredible general learning ability that you can just point at a problem and say, go learn to be a programmer, go learn to be a doctor. It learns from experience, on the job, not from some static data set.
But here's the twist. This is the force multiplier that changes everything. These AIs might learn like individual people, but they have a superpower we could only dream of. The AI that learned to be a programmer and the one that learned to be a doctor, they can merge their knowledge instantly, creating a collective intelligence that grows exponentially.
And that leaves us with this final, absolutely staggering question. If we build AIs that learn with the depth of a human but can compound that learning in a way we never could, what happens when their collective knowledge just blows past our own? Sutskever's vision really makes you think. The future of AI isn't just about bigger, it's about fundamentally smarter and building things that can learn in ways we're just now starting to wrap our heads around. To stay on top of developments like this, be sure to visit us at neuralintel.org and check us out on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Thanks for tuning in.